Hello, my name is Paula Bellacera. I'm an artist and I work in clay. I hand build animal sculptures primarily using a slab technique. My interest in animals covers many species including domestic dogs and cats, hawks, owls, rabbits, and even bees. When I decide what I want to sculpt, I look at hundreds of photos and make drawings. I also start figuring out my approach to building the sculpture. Today I will show you the steps I take in building a barn owl in flight that would be mounted on a wall. I use the term build because it's often an engineering feat to make the clay stay in the position I desire. Because clay is a soft medium, sculpting requires internal or external supports, or in my case, I rely on the clay hardening as it dries, and then I could build higher and higher. I usually work on several sculptures at a time, so I can work on one while waiting for another to harden up enough to build higher. It takes days or weeks to finish the hand building of a piece. Clay comes in 25-pound bags, and I use a variety of different kinds of clays depending on what I want to build. I used white sculpture clay for this piece. I take the clay out of the bag and run it through my slab roller to create a number of slabs. I used to use a rolling pin, but it was back-breaking work, and the thickness of the slabs weren't as perfect as with the slab roller. Once I've created all the slabs, then I use them to make cylinders for body parts, or in this case, I used a template to cut out wings and a tail for the owl. I shaped the wings and carved out feathers and attached them together so I could later add the body, legs, and head. I make each body part separate, adding details, and when they're dry enough to hold their shape, I attach them. When the piece is complete, I let it dry slowly until it's dry enough for the first kiln firing called a Bisque fire. I slowly bring the temperature up in the kiln to the recommended temperature for that particular clay, about 2000 degrees, and it takes about 48 hours to 72 hours from loading to unloading the kiln because I have to wait for it to cool down. The sculpture is like a 3D canvas, blank and ready for color. So the next step is that I use underglazes in layers to create a soft appearance of feathers or fur. Then the sculpture goes back in the kiln for a glaze firing, after which I may choose to apply more color or use a clear glaze which will make the color richer and create a gloss or semi-gloss or matte finish. I like the contrast of having the feathers matte and the eyes and beak and talons glossy. Then the sculpture goes back in the kiln for a third firing, and the sculpture is ready for hanging after that final firing. People often ask how long it takes to make one of my animal sculptures, and to be honest, it's impossible to say. But now you know my process.